Hey guys, it is Tristan with the Nerdouts Newsstand, and I want to talk a little bit about social media. I want to talk a little bit about Dan Slott, and then we're going to go into a little bit of Comicsgate. Yeah, this should be really fun. If you are new to the channel, hit subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, I make content every single day. Hit like, leave me a comment down below. Now let's jump right into it because this has been getting a little bit of bigger coverage. Now, when you go on social media, which we're going to talk about Twitter, I suggest not doing. I understand the drive to want to, but a lot of times those algorithms are simply made to make you mad. And I don't think that's good for people in general. I also think that it is a platform that really drives that anger and division within people. So I suggest staying off it, period. But a lot of people use it. And if you're going to use it, it's likely you are going to look up some of your favorite people to follow. One of them could be Dan Slott. Now, Dan Slott, for all of his faults, was at one time a very good writer. Not even saying he is anymore because I haven't been enjoying his later stuff, but Spider-Man by him was done well from time to time, and a lot of people really enjoy him. So that you cannot take away. But if you were to look him up, you would see how he interacted with fans. And one we're going to specifically talk about today is Comic Quirks, Jimmy from Comic Quirks, right? And I will put his link in the pinned comment. Now, I do not know him from Twitter, where a lot of people may know him from. I actually have been subscribed to his YouTube channel. I love looking at different viewpoints when it comes to comic books, and he likes a lot of the stuff maybe I don't necessarily love. And I think that's wonderful. And I just enjoy comic book content all around. So I like his channel. Again, check it out. But the whole point to this is how you are treated. We need to talk about Dan Slott. And Marvel has had a Dan Slott problem for a very long time. Now, Dan Slott is the worst, but there are other creators on that platform that treat fans poorly. And Jimmy is absolutely a fan. He even went, after this whole situation happened, on I Love Comics Ingleton channel and defended the man after being treated poorly by him. That is a true integral person. And I think it is awesome that he wasn't jaded. A lot of comic consumers are jaded. I would say I'm not as jaded as most, but I'm definitely getting up there. You get to a point where you're like, I have put 20 years of my life into this company, and all of a sudden it completely changes. It feels like a stab to the heart with something you love, right? So let's take a look at the initial interaction, because I think it's important to just give a TLDR. Now, there are other videos I suggest checking out. Thinking Critical did a video about this. I posted yesterday on my community tab. He breaks it down in a lot more detail, but I want to talk generalities because we see Joshua M. Quirk, okay? I definitely have only ever heard him as called Jimmy. Maybe I'm missing something here. Okay. Anyways. Okay, it says Quirks with Jimmy. Okay, I'm not crazy, I swear. So anyways, basically at a political conversation with Dan Slott, and I'm not going to get into politics, but it was Dan Slott with his I hate Trumpism, which is pretty normal, and saying he's absolutely certain, 100% certain. And I've talked about absolutes in the past. Any sort of absolutism is not good, whether it's in politics or comics. If you are 100% certain, you are already wrong, because there is no certainty, especially when it comes to politics. There just isn't. So he basically says, about he's certain that it would have been worse under a Trump administration. And Josh comes back and says, or Jimmy, I'm not going to call you Josh. I'm just so confused here. he comes back and he says, border crisis, Afghanistan, gas prices, job, inflation, etc., etc. And he didn't like that answer. He didn't like unveiling that mask that Biden hasn't done a great job on certain things. And I think as American citizens, we should all be able to talk about what we think has been done well and what we think has been done terribly. And that's all Jimmy was doing. So he comes back and he said, Afghanistan would be worse. Okay. Okay. And of course, everything would be worse because Trumpism. All right. And gets blocked. That's it. Jimmy was completely respectful. All right. That leads us up to the conversation with Ingleton where he says, and defends him. And basically we have Dan Slott coming back around and kind of just, stalking his feed and saying, I blocked you because I checked who you were following, and you were following a number of accounts that members of an online hate group who have actively harassed people in the comic book industry who are from marginalized communities, including POC, LGBTQIA, and female creators. He's talking specifically about Comicsgate, and he's saying, I blocked you because you followed people from Comicsgate. Now, make of it what you will when it comes to Comicsgate. They absolutely have their faults. I do think the initial movement 4 years ago was started as that Jaded I talked about earlier, realizing that all your favorite heroes were going to be replaced at Marvel, every single one of them. And then now DC's following suit, but they had absolutely the right to point that out. And when they pointed that out, they were told they were, again, harassing people from marginalized communities. Now, at this point, I do think it's overblown. I think when it initially started, it was a fan movement. Now it is a network of creators who are selling. And I think a lot of it is based off of owning the libs. But I do think there are a lot of real people that don't maybe pay attention and go and buy something because they loved Ethan's artwork or they love the way that Zach used to review comic books. I think a lot of it is just a love for the medium, a love for reading comics, no matter what type, whether it's indies or mainstream. So with that being said, it ends up going to DMs. And this is what really bugged me. And I feel really bad for Jimmy because I felt like he was absolutely manipulated here by someone that he looked up to. And I've been there before, I have, but I wish in this situation, Jimmy would have had a little bit more of a backbone, not necessarily stood up for Comicsgate, because I wouldn't, stood up for himself. So basically, he makes him, and again, I'm not going to go through it in great detail. I'll link a video about that down below, but makes him go through and delete post from Bounding Into Comics, which I the only reason I'm using them is because of this. I don't use them. I think they are a joke. They don't do anything but super conservative reporting, and a lot of it is really weirdly like, if you don't know that Harley Quinn's been by forever, I question you as a comic book reader, but even so, that's not the whole point of it. He should be allowed to send out something that was about him. He absolutely should. So Dan Slott comes back and says Comicsgate is a hate group. He doesn't know what a hate group is. A hate group is, he says something like that. Gotta be careful what I say, but this isn't a both sides thing. It is. It is a both sides thing. It's always a both sides thing. How many times do you hear me say there are bad people on both sides? It's always a both sides thing. The problem is when I say there are bad people on both sides, sure, I may be talking about, Ethan Van Sciver is a jackass, but so are you, Dan Slott. So are you. So this is a group that came in together by harassing LGBTQIA members, POC, other women that work in comics. I've noticed that ramp up, especially as of late, when it comes to like specifically targeting people like that are really trying. And I don't get it. There are people that are really trying and really are well educated and well done and do good books and treat fans wonderfully, and they're still targeted. I don't understand that as of late, but even so, I can link you to dozens of mainstream press articles. Nobody believes the mainstream at this point. Dan Slott, come on now. No matter what BS you like to spin, they're a hate group. They have a member on their live stream associated with the Proud Boys. Wow, I did not know that. Okay, this isn't rocket science, man. I don't know even enough about the Proud Boys. All I hear is that they're bad, but I have no idea, but I'm not even getting into it. It doesn't balance things out by following people like Chip Zdarsky and that's not algebra. Okay, so here's the problem. He at one point up here, he says Ingleton is... Right here. Ingleton is Comicsgate. No, he's not. And that's the whole problem with something like Comicsgate. You are labeled something, even if you are not. You are labeled something like by people like Dan Slott, even if you are not. And no matter what, you will never get out of that label. I went 6-8 months being very careful about what I said just to get where I am today. And it's not working. Doesn't matter what you do, you will never get out from underneath that label once they put it on you. It's a big problem. It's a big problem because once you do that, you push people to that side. People like Gail Simone, who another person, I love reading her books. A lot of them are really good. What she did with Ted Kord, chef's kiss. Now, with that being said, she also pushes people that way. These people dreamed Comicsgate into existence. If it wasn't for the way they treated people, and it's not all of them. I want to be clear. I'm not being hyperbolic here. It's only a select few. It's people like Dan Slott. It's people like Gail Simone. At one point, it was people like Donnie Cates, but I think he's been pretty good. It's these people that treat customers, people that buy the book, in a very negative way. Look at the coverage I just did about Tom King. Like, that's not okay. These people buy your book. Whether or not you think you are in a customer service industry is irrelevant. You should be appreciative of the people that enjoy you. And it's an issue when you're not. It makes me not want to support you. And I won't when it comes to people like Tom King or Dan Slott at this point. It's a big shame. Don't let anyone manipulate you. Don't let anybody tell you what to think. Don't be a sheep for either side. Yes, either side. Dan Slott, you are a sheep. But so are some people on the other side when it comes to people like, the comic book industry is dying. Yeah, I know I'm divisive. I get it. But it's clearly not dying. It may be changing. It's clearly not dying. It is a both sides thing, and that's actually the perfect line when he put that in there. It's so much of a both sides thing. There is no middle ground left anymore, and there's no room for thinking. There's no room for free thought. And this is a perfect example of that trying to be removed. No matter what you think of me, no matter what you think of Dan Slott, no matter what you think of somebody like your boy Zach, you should be allowed to say it without getting attacked. You should be allowed to talk about it without a weird meltdown. And I don't use meltdown very often because there's a lot of videos that are like, ooh, Twitter Puritans had a meltdown. And it's like 2 words and it's like, I don't like this. Like, that's not a meltdown, okay? But this is a meltdown. This is ridiculous. This is control. This is gross. And it's disturbing that it is from a comic pro and not like Jimmy's girlfriend. Like, it would be a little bit of a control issue if it was Jimmy's girlfriend or wife or whatever. It would be like weird, right? You realize why it's so much weirder that it's not. I don't know. I find this very disturbing. Don't let anyone tell you what to think. That's pretty much it. Anyone. I don't care who they are. Do your due diligence. Look up articles that are not in the mainstream and in the mainstream. Look up articles or videos from people you trust. Look up the facts for yourself, because you'll never be able to make a correct decision and a correct assumption and a correct dialogue within something without doing that. Don't let people tell you what to think. It's so important. Don't let people label you either, but that you can't really do. And unfortunately, for people like me, I will be labeled Comicsgate even though I don't back any books anymore. I was there for a while. There was a couple, but I'm done with that. Well, maybe Sweetcast. I still think he's a really good guy. I don't see his Twitter feed, so I don't know. You see what I'm saying? Like, oh, it's such an issue. It's such a me versus them thing, and I'm so sick of it. Just like, enjoy what you want. Don't let anybody take what you want and what you enjoy away from you. It's really important now. So anyways, let me know, of course, what you guys think. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.